Where do you want to take us?
Well, I want to talk about your heart chakra. What changes did you notice?
I totally resonate with working on the heart. I've been told I can, like some people, like when I'm live, there's an intensity like a fire hose. So I'm used to boom, boom, boom. But sometimes I'll listen to myself and I say, dude, you sound like you're yelling at them. And I'll and I think you can throttle that one back a little bit. But then sometimes I slip into automation and start getting a little more intense again, and then I have to catch myself and I have to pull it back down again.
So you were doing that part leading up to your surgery.
So I think meeting you is divine timing. It's divine timing for you to come into my life, and you're here to heal a portion of myself that I didn't know that needed healing. I enjoyed just the thought of emphasizing the heart chakra, being vulnerable.
Well, I'm glad we met. And I love that you're practicing dialing back. Eventually, and this can be like a little goalpost for you to notice in the future, I want you to be at that point where the practice, it's not a practice anymore. It is actually natural. And that's one thing that people, when they are working on their heart chakra without even knowing it, but some people trying to work on emotional connection and this, they miss this because they think, oh, well, it's not natural for me. Therefore, this is just the way I am. There's nothing I can do about it. And when I try to be like this, that people say I need to be like this, it feels weird and it feels inauthentic. Therefore, that's not me. I'm just going to continue being this person, that's yelling at the audience or whatever it is. But you're noticing it and it feels a little uncomfortable because that's something that was missing that you never got to develop fully, is what would happen if I was more reserved or more dialed back, whatever. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the way that you talk naturally at all. It just means, hey, there's this other piece that's missing and you get to practice it now. And it feels a little bit weird. And then sometimes you have to stop yourself and literally tell yourself to dial it back. But eventually, that's not going to be the case. You're going to have so much practice that it becomes flow. And literally, that's what the heart is about.
That's beautiful. Thank you. What I did masterfully, I think, with the hip surgery is I acknowledged that I was going to have a part of my body cut out. And so I had 2 months to say goodbye to that part of my body. I had 2 months to say goodbye to my femur and to the ball socket and use Hopono Ono on it or just send positive energy to it or just put my consciousness in it. I did a great job on staying present. What I didn't do is I didn't go into the future and I didn't prepare for what it was going to look like. So I had zero expectation of what it was going to look like afterwards. I just let it happen. And I knew that my bone was basically getting sawed. So if you get a sawed bone, obviously there's going to be some pain. And if
Yeah.
you get a piece of metal stuck into the sawed bone, this foreign body, well, that's going to be a little of adaptation also. I'm a zestful human being. Let's justify it that way. And so anyway, it hurt way more than I physically thought. So I didn't understand just it was like the body was in shock, like a dog goes into surgery and it comes out like what just happened? The body's kind of like going, what just happened? So then I do my post-op research afterwards.
I feel like the fact that you didn't do post op research is a great demonstration of your willingness to be in flow. So you can always take that, what you just did there, with maybe without even knowing it, you can say, I'm there, like I'm willing to be in flow. Okay, so then I just need to practice it.
Yeah,
Well, shall we look at some of your dreams now that we have a little bit of
yeah, let's
time?
look at the one I put up today.
Teenage marijuana smell?
No, 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 but it was
Okay. I'm trying to find your document. One of the dreams I remember is somebody I was with found cocaine And I was like, oh, and I took my finger like this and licked it. And I went about with my whatever I was doing. I think it was a work project with my husband. And I said to myself, oh, this is going to hit me later.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so hopefully it means that I found it. This guy had broken his computer. He had dropped it and then it got stolen. He was kind of a regular guy and you could see that he was stressed. Then he was looking for his thumb drive and that got stolen too. I consoled him. I told him that sometimes things like these show back up. We're going to look for this party in the city or a picnic where people were, where we might be able to find some evidence of the laptop. Then we walked outside. Okay, so let's just talk about this first part. A lot of times when you see a computer or anything that stores data or that is programmed, we know that it's likely about our brain, our programming. And so you see that you might have been broken or it might have been taken. And even the thumb drive, which is, something that also stores data that maybe even memories, you can think about that as like something that you can either insert into the computer or remove. And the computer doesn't remember when you remove it. So actually, I think the computer being broken or stolen or the thumb drive being lost or stolen is good because then you have the opportunity to see what it's like when you don't have that data, when you don't have that programming or that memory. So this is the healing that comes through in those dream seeds. I consoled him. I said something nice. So, consoling someone is an attribute of feminine energy. So, you're empathizing, you're saying everything's going to be okay. And a lot of times, when our heart chakra is broken or hurt, injured, wounded, it's because at a critical time in our life, we didn't get consoled. We were shown that when bad things happen to us or anything, we were shown that we don't get consolation, that we have to just pull ourselves up and do things without anybody caring. And I'm not saying that that's not a good attribute to have. That's how I grew up too. And it's so useful, but we need to have both. So we can't just be pull yourself up by the bootstraps and I'll do everything on my own. As we're a society and we can't have connection if we feel like it's not okay to collaborate and do things with other people, like we need to do everything on our own. So anyway, this first part of the dream is fantastically showing that. So let's see what you end up doing with it in the dream. But like, I feel like I just talked forever. How is that hitting you? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's super interesting and confirming to a degree, about letting go of old ways and letting go of human data and letting universal data come in, kind of like a transition of period of consciousness. And I once said that books feed my ego and silence feeds my soul. And if I need to justify everything like I learned or back when I got my master's degree, it's just my ego trying to justify and feel significant or to increase the validation of what I'm saying, which shows a lack of trust in my communication style. And so when you're flat out channeling, you don't need to validate and just trusting. So kind of like letting go. And then the consoling part seemed like possibly, say, for instance, if it was me, the whole dream was me, and maybe I was consoling my ego. And that's something that's been at the top of my mind is creating a loving symbiotic relationship between my ego and my soul. Having the ability to really make sure that it's a love affair. It's a union of two different dimensions and two different languages that requires trust, letting each other make mistakes, letting my soul make mistakes, letting my ego make mistakes, and trusting them, allowing them to have fallibility, and allowing them to have connection so that they can work together in this reality. And so the guy, when I was consoling him, I wondered if that was my ego.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like it could be. And the idea is that we're the ones that heal ourselves. So in this dream, you're showing yourself that you have that capability to come together and empathize with different parts of you that have been kind of disconnected. So we were going to look for his party in the city or the picnic where people were, where we might be able to find some evidence of the laptop. And that's another thing that I see in dreams time and time again, is looking for evidence, because you're on this journey to explore, how did I get that? Like, how did I pick up that programming or whatever? Or how did I lose touch with this part? How did I lose that connection with different parts of me? So you're looking for evidence. That's normal. We walked outside. It was like we were in a field. Like, what kind of field?
It was a big soccer type field, just a big field and a big park.
Yeah. Okay. And that's another thing that I see time and time again in these heart chakra dream seeds is green, because green is usually associated with the heart chakra. So, and you would notice too that that kind of field that you described is very open. It's, there's nothing blocking it. It's very open. So again, that's about an open, clear heart chakra. We went up to a construction site and we were looking up at the second floor of the construction site. So even construction site, what happens on a construction site? Things get fixed or things get built, things get worked on. So it's literally saying, I'm working on this. We would see where the guy that we were looking for was. He was there with his wife and baby, but it did not really have a safe feeling or a friendly vibe. Then we were asking some people in the area about it. There was a smaller guy with a giant guy, kind of like a bodyguard situation. I was asking about it and we were going upstairs with the guy to find it, but I did not feel safe with a large human. So again, this is like exactly what happens in heart chakra work is we don't feel safe. So here you have all of these symbols that point you to the heart chakra and say, hey, if you're totally open and bare and you've got this open field where you can play and have fun, it doesn't feel safe. And it even has the wife and a guy with the wife and a baby. So it's kind of like this union of the two, masculine and feminine. And this situation, whatever, there's a bodyguard situation. There's like, I have to, like even a bodyguard, I have to guard something about me. So this whole part of the dream is saying, okay, when I'm in that situation, something isn't right. It doesn't feel right. Now, this doesn't mean that your entire heart or ability to be open or ability to connect is broken. It's just that this is working on a particular piece that is holding you back. So it doesn't feel safe. Or if we talked about that, like programming, like the computer that might be broken, the part that's broken is it doesn't feel safe to be open or vulnerable. Now, the opposite of that is something that you could add in if you don't already. I would definitely add something like this or a visualization that would allow you to see yourself feeling very good about being open and vulnerable.
And then I had mentioned how I live on a lake and that when I move into, I want water, and it's kind of a small lake, but it was lush. And she said she loved it. So we had been there before, and you said it represented that it was beautiful and lush, and I was satisfied because it was a place I could sit by the water. She had mentioned that this was different. At first, I thought it was a little segment of the lake, but then I realized it might be a long lake. Sure, I could see the symbology in that, and just that there was way more than I could have even imagined. And that's kind of where we recognize we forgot to hit record.
So that was all a test just to see if you were listening. Yes, yeah. So here you are sitting with the feminine energy counterpart, your wife, and she's showing you how great it is to be fully in touch with this feminine energy. And then you realize that this lake that you thought was small, little bit of flow, it's actually a lot bigger than what you realize. What a great part of the dream. Okay, so this next part is there's a house, a red house that was being rented to someone like a mother-in-law. So, mother-in-law, that's interesting because some people have different feelings about having a mother-in-law suite, let's say. But either way, the dream is still inviting this, let's say, this maybe part of the feminine energy that may not, let's see, it may not be the best feminine energy. Like, let's see what happens, right? So I'm excited to see what happens in your dream. The fact that it's a red house makes me feel like this is going to be really good. I mean, red is usually the color of the base chakra. It's usually all about what grounds you, but also, oh, this is how it fits into your dream. It's also about survival instinct, it's about being safe. So we know that this feeling, the programming that came up at the beginning about not feeling safe. So we know that these two things are tied together. Toward the end of the dream, we're looking at the power panel, looking at the house, and looking at the deck. A character in there said that they had some sort of seed. Didn't really, let's see, could not hear it clearly. I thought he said something like sun seed, and he ended up and he ended up having to get rid of it. And then there was a deck, and I thought maybe it was the deck he was talking about. There was some miscommunication. Then there was a bigger house. There was part of the dream with a bigger house. It was a primary bedroom or the primary house. This woman seemed like a family member, an in-law who lived in the house. I asked them about how much land. At one point, we're talking about technology and relationships, like a four-wheeler, or just how reliable and inexpensive some of it is. Okay. Your dreams always have this super random thing in it. Let's see. So I tell you what part of what we just went over are you most interested in?
I mean, my eyes gravitated. There was a bigger house. There was
Mhm.
part of the dream with the bigger house that was like a primary bedroom or primary house.
Okay. And so at first, you have this part of the house where there's a mother-in-law. So kind of is this smaller thing, but then it shows you this bigger house. In one of our other sessions, you had this symbol in there showing that you have so much more room to expand. Like there's so much laid out for you, so much space laid out for you in this lifetime for you to expand your energy. So this is sort of saying the way to expand that is through developing your heart chakra and inviting more of that feminine energy to allow yourself to express yourself through the lens of the heart chakra. And you can see in this part of the dream, you talk about, okay, but there's some miscommunication happening there. You can't hear something, and then there's a miscommunication. You think it might be this, you think it might be that. So, the overarching message that's coming through for me to say is to work on how you hear things and hear things differently when it comes to empathy, safety, openness, maybe when somebody is talking about their feelings and how they feel about something or how they're scared about something, hear things differently.
Yeah, thank you. Sounds that when I talk about communication, taking responsibility, like if I heard what you just shared with me from my perspective as a miscommunication, if I heard it from your perspective, it's a communication. And then, so that could be a metaphor for life, hearing things differently. So I'll hold on to that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. It. And I never really thought about it the way you just said it. Like you're talking about it's a miscommunication. And I said, no, it's actually, it is communication, and hearing is part of the throat chakra. And as I said before, the heart chakra has all this balled up and it wants to express, but it gets bottlenecked into the throat, physical. Okay, so the dream is saying, hey, expand with the heart chakra, but it's not saying that your heart chakra is closed. It's saying, here's the things that are affecting it: the hearing, which is up in the throat, and then the safety, which is down in the base, in the root. So you've got these two, top and bottom, that need to come together. So I would say maybe even do some visualizations on that, some more unique visualizations than the ones that I already said, and just make for sure that you can visually, that your computer builds new visuals to let your heart feel safe and to let your heart hear what it wants to hear.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And I love the last visualizations you gave me also.
I just love talking to you and meeting with you and seeing how this birth work is really just hitting you exactly at the time and space where it needs to hit you. So thank you for
Yeah,
taking
thank you.
part.
Yeah, thank you, Janice. I appreciate you so much. We'll catch up soon.
Okay. Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye-bye.